Hey y'all. Alright, so today I want to talk about GM 10 cut. I know this is nowadays, this is old school, but literally I have done so many of these that I got sick of doing them because we used to do AAA roadside back in the 90s. GM 10 cut was introduced around like 95-ish and went to about 2005, and during that time AAA handled GM roadside. So we got, usually 8 to 12 calls a day. During the time that AAA picked up GM roadside, we went up to like 15 calls a day. A lot of times we were furnished the key codes for the vehicles when it was lovely to be able to call GM and say, yo, we need a key code, but since people abuse that privilege, that is no more. Even through NASTF, it is sometimes hard to get GM key codes. So GMs are 10 cuts, like I said, 95 to 2005-ish, before they started using the Z keyway or the B106 style keyway. There were two basic types. You had in the column, which is in the steering column, and then you had in the dash, which was in the dash. So both of these came out differently. Both of them required the key to turn for the ignition to come out. This video is not about actually using an A1 kit to get the ignition out. This video is about what to do once you've got the ignition out and there's no code on it and you can't read it for some reason to get a key made. Now, I use the A1 kit. This is the A1 column kit. I've never ordered the in-dash version, and I have pretty much shied away from doing that after we all lost key codes. I have done a handful of the in-dash. However, it is a little bit more tricky than the column. If you have a truck, especially like a 98 to 2004 pickup truck, those are simple with the in-dash A1 kit. Now, the in-dash A1 kit comes with 4, which I've only got 3 in here for some reason. Basic rakes. These are just automotive rakes, and then the reader. So this reader is what you use, and if you look real close at the tip of it, you'll see 4 little scribe lines. That is the depths. 1, 2, 3, 4. Deepest being 4. So and then it comes with 1 or 2 of these. What else have I got in here? Oh, I got a regular pick in here. These little bars, which I'm missing 2 of mine, which is not good at all. I'm going to have to go through my auto stuff. With the in the column cards, basically, you get this around. This puts tension on the sidebar. And when you have tension on the sidebar, you are able to pick it. If we watch and we push down and we rake it a few times, we'll actually use these rakes right here, and we just run it in and out a few times. We'll feel and see the sidebar seat. I think it's that. Usually it is fairly easy. Now, one thing about these, and I've actually taken a A1 class on these back in the day, and one thing about these is you can't go straight up and down. If you go straight up and down, sometimes you're not going to get it. But if you angle it a little bit, kind of towards the edge, because certain wafers, I'll go ahead and show you a wafer. That's the wafer they're sitting in, kind of like this in the keyway, and you're using this basically to lift it up and down. This V-notch in the side is what the sidebar falls into when they're all lined up. So anyway, going back to it, one of the tricks they taught us was to kind of angle your tool a little bit to have a little bit, wait, it's on the other side, to have a little bit more success picking it. You can kind of make fun. This is basically, it just looks like a blade. There's no teeth on it, but this actually does work fairly well as well. You can also just use a regular pick. But anyway, like I said, I'm not really going to talk about how to get these out. That's just something you're going to have to learn, and it is bypassing security on vehicles, so I'm not really going to talk about that. But see, our sidebar fell. So once you get this out of the car, or even at the end dash, you know, the end dash requires you to pop this cap off and have your special little drill to, sorry, I'm gonna just go ahead and get this out like we have it out of the car. Okay, so careful of this when you take it out of the end dash. These can pop out, so make sure you don't lose your spring and your little doodad there. But again, once you get it out, you are hoping that there is a code in dot matrix right here, and you can see there is no code. There's a number hiding in that hole there, but that's it, not it. Let's look at this one, see if we have a dot matrix code. It is always in the same spot. And this one does not have one either. So that could be any number of things. That could be a replacement ignition. That could be whatever the case is. So we're gonna, first off, we're gonna get a little piece of paper, and we're gonna talk about using the decoder tool that comes with that. Okay, we do have a key that fits this, but we're gonna assume we don't. So we're gonna hold the sidebar down in our hand, and we're gonna rake it until we get a complete sidebar falling down, and it only falls just a little bit, so it's kind of hard to tell when you have it in your hand. But it's usually fairly easy to pick. Go back to the actual pick. Oh, come on. I sat here and said fairly easy to pick, and then it's not gonna pick. Let's try it this way. Oh, there it goes. Oh, well, there goes one side anyway. And I'll let it go. All right, let me get this picked. Basically, it is not difficult, but it can be tricky, just like any other pick. I got half the sidebar down. I don't know why the other half isn't falling. Let's try another. Oh, okay. Yep, nope. So basically the deal here is while you're trying to pick this, your hands are going to cramp up while you're trying to hold that sidebar down, because you got to keep it held down. So, oh, there goes one side. Got to make sure both sides fall, because you will get a bad reading otherwise. And you want to make sure that you do that. Okay, there it goes. Ah! Alright, so let's see if we can keep it held down. Yes, okay, we're down. So, in almost all GMs, the tip cut is not used. It's almost always 1 through 9. There were a few, like the Aurora, if I remember correctly, in the early years, that did not have, that did use the 10th wafer, but almost all GM ignitions are going to be trying to keep this held down, and my hands are cramping up from something I did earlier. The 10th cut's not going to be used, but if you look, you'll see the 9 slots. So basically, let's see how close we can get here. You'll come in to the first slot, and it looks like a little tricky. To me, that looks like a 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's not a 3, it's I guess a 1. And this is the point of this video, because sometimes you just can't read it, and you got to, you know, it may not be picked all the way. Sometimes you just cannot get it read, and that's one reason I'm doing this video. But anyway, you would progress through, you get it picked, you would try your thing. You know, that's showing a 2. The tip cut is not used, but yep, that's a 2. We go to the next one. We put it in there. That goes all the way down. That is a 4. It looks like a 3. So this is a very deceptive kind of way to do it because it's really hard to tell. So what led me to doing this video was I saw somebody on Reddit asking about this and then saying that he couldn't find any videos on YouTube. So that's why I'm doing this. He asked if you could pop the cover off and take the wafers out. Well, that's your final option. No code. You're not getting a good read. Remember your rules with GM. It's never going to be more than a 2 cut difference. You're never going to have a 1 next to a 4. Yeah, you're not going to have more than 3 in a row, so you're not going to have 2, 2, 2, 2. You're only going to have 2, 2, 2, and then a 4. So if you have a 1, you're definitely not going to have a 4 next to the 1. So using all those rules kind of helps you. But if for some reason you just cannot get that sidebar to fall correctly, and you cannot get this read whatsoever, yes, this cap can come off. However, it is very tricky and it can be a little problematic to do. It's a very good idea to keep replacement caps in stock. That part number is 322117 right there. And springs, wafers, having a whole kit is, you know, just kind of a dandy idea. Because once you do this, you have a chance of possibly losing a spring or a part. So basically these are peened down and they need to be re-peened when you take it off. And it's peened down on each corner. You see these marks, this peen here, this peen here. And if you come up here, you'll see that little dent. That's peening it down there and then peening it down there. Basically that's folding the metal over the edge of this so that it keeps it down, because obviously when you put your key in, it pushes up on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this off. If you have a kit, it's okay if you lose springs or if you bend this, but let's just assume we don't have a kit. So I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit here, keep this in view, and try to remember to leave it there. So you want to be very careful not to break a leg. And breaking a leg means you break one of these little legs off in the slot, and that is literally the very last thing you want to do. You are going to need a very thin, very sharp screwdriver or something to get in here. No, that's not good. I may not have brought the right tools for this. There we go. So yeah, get into here, and we're gonna kind of pry up a little bit. We're gonna go to we're not prying it all the way out now. You notice we just kind of lift it a little bit. We're gonna go to the other side. I'm gonna pry a little bit there. Kind of flip it around. Looks like we're coming out okay. See our springs kind of pushing up on it there. So yeah, you want to go back and forth, and you want to make sure that that leg does not break off in there. So I'm just kind of easing it out, and it looks like, oh yay, we got it out. So this is going to be reusable. Now, since I have a kit, I don't reuse them, but you can, you know, if you have to. And we see once we get it open, you have your 9 springs and stuff. So basically the hardest part now is getting the wafers out and making sure that you get them out in order, because they just do not come out, they do not fall out. And especially once you get to the very last couple of ones, the sidebar holds them in. So if you have a mat with separate containers or whatever, it might be a good idea to use it, but I cover them all up with my finger. And I start to tap. It's not doing anything. So hook pick is your friend. Hook pick is your friend. However, you want to be very careful and hold your thumb over that. And I'm just going to rake, kind of angling it in. I'm just going to rake them all up as high as they'll go. Now I can feel them hitting my thumb. If we look under my thumb, we can see that a few of them have come up. And then I'm going to use my, let me zoom out because I may be in and out of view a little bit. So I'm going to the back here. Now you can use a deep hook for this too, which does help. But, all right, so there's our first one. It came out fairly easy. Now the wafers are numbered, so that's what we're doing this for, is to get these numbers. If we zoom in on this last one, you zoom in, it's a number 2. Now, if the wafers aren't numbered, you're gonna have to basically line them up and figure it out by by the V notch, and I'm not even gonna get into that. Now, as you take them out, just so you don't mix them up, go ahead and write it down. So I'm gonna come over here and put that right there, like this, and put 2. Yes, you can see that. All right, let's go and see if we can get the next one out. The next one's coming out. We look at it, and it is a 3. So we got a 3. Next. Make sure it is next. And you don't want to drop more than 2 out. Otherwise, you'll have to fiddle with the final result to try to figure out which key it was. Next wafer is 1. Try to keep them in order here. 1. Next wafer. Now these wafers are coming out very easily. Sometimes they don't come out this easily at all. And you have to use a really deep hook to get them out. So that's a 2. We'll mark 2. Now, just for instance, if we had to do that, we would come in here and kind of scrape them again. Now remember what I said about the sidebar trying to hold them in the very end. And as you get closer to the head, it gets a little bit more difficult to get them out. One at a time anyway. Okay, so that one is a 2 again. Okay. Now we're getting to the point where the sidebar is trying to hold it in. Luckily, there are gaps between the two, so you can come in where this gap is and just lift the wafer out from this point. And that one is a, oh, what number is that? Is that a 1? No, that's a 4. Yeah, 4. Okay. So there's a 4 right there. I'm going to go through here, lift this one out. And we got 2, so I'm going to write 2 down. Alright, getting close, down to our last 2. At this point, you may have to put a pick in here and push out on the sidebar. So what that'll do is that'll free up these wafers. Otherwise, it tends to kind of hold the wafers in because the sidebar is holding them in. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see. What happened? What happened to my wafers? They disappeared. I'm going to go back into the front. There we go. Popped it back up and yay! We got 1 out. Okay, we got 1 left. We have a number 1. And last but not least, if we can get it out this way, Yes, we were able to. Again, you may have to reach in here and see how the sidebar, you kind of push out on the sidebar. That'll let go of the wafer, but we didn't have to do that that time. The last one being a 1 again. So we have our key code 112422132. Yay, we're gonna cut the key and then we're gonna come back in and repopulate our chambers. So, making sure you get them in the right order. Now, it's highly advisable before you put all this back together to go ahead and cut the key, go try it in the door to make sure it works the door too, and the trunk and the glove box and all that. But we know it works because it was already keyed up. But yes, definitely before you recap and reseal and do all that, make sure you try the key. You're going to try the key 2 different times. We're going to go ahead and push all these down. Voila. We're going to take our springs. We're going to drop them in that center hole right there. Let's zoom back in so we can see. Probably should have brought out tweezers for this whole exercise, but I didn't. Oh. Yes, tweezers would have helped. But you want to make sure the springs are all pressing down and all in the little holes they're supposed to be. Not in any cross holes or whatever. There we go, look at that. I did not lose any parts. I'm so proud of myself. Alright, so once we get our last wafer in, normally you would just take the cap, press it back in. But what I like to do before that, you could hold your finger over that, but that makes, that can make the springs like deform or not do right. So what I do is I'll hold the cap upside down, make sure all the springs are going straight down, like that last one there was not. Oh, okay, now I'm holding it in, and I'm going to get our cut key and try our cut key. And we see the sidebar fell on both sides completely, perfectly. So that means it is a good key. So now we're going to carefully lift back up. You may lose a spring doing that, but it's better than having to put it back in and restake it and tear it back open. So at this point, we're just going to take it, make sure our springs are level by kind of peeking through, making sure they're all sitting correctly, and pushing it down. Now at this point, I did not bring that tool with me, but it is a good idea to, let me grab it for you real quick, hold on. Okay, sorry, I found them. Face cap plier tools, one of the greatest inventions of all time. So we're gonna use that. We're gonna make sure that we're pressing down on an area that is not gonna hurt anything on the other side. And we're just gonna squeeze it, make sure it's okay there. And we're gonna give it a squeeze. Squeeze! Squeeze on each corner. Do the same thing closer up here. We're gonna check our back side. And squeeze and squeeze. All right, at this point, we're gonna try our key one more time. Now look at our sidebar, sticking up, and key in, falls down. Oh, what a perfect key. So now we have a key. However, we are not fully done here. We need to do one more thing, and let's move over here. Over here to the vise, or an anvil, or a hard surface of some kind. So what you do there is you are coming to repeen this. Now this is kind of hard to do by yourself. If you have a helper, it's good to let them be the whacker. But I'm basically going to come in here right where the old peen was, right kind of beside it, and give it a little tap. give it a little tap. Give it a little tap. You don't have to hit it hard at all. Just want to make sure you're not hurting anything when you do that. Now up here closer to the head, it's a little bit harder, so I'm gonna kind of wrap my arm around the camera here and get right up on that. Give that a little tap. That was a horrible tap. There are little jigs that will help you hold cylinders, but while you're doing this, but I've never used them. You just kind of freehand it. And you're not hitting it hard. You're only just tapping it to get that metal to bend right over the spring cap that you have so that it doesn't lift up. Once you have done so and you feel fairly comfortable tapping that in, which I do, you feel fairly comfortable, and you would check your key in it and make sure it doesn't lift up. So instead of looking at the sidebar now, we're just going to carefully watch and make sure nothing pops up here or down there. So we're going to run a key in and out a few times. Make sure it's nice and stable in there. It looks like it is. It probably could use a little bit of tap right there, but again, with face cap pliers, usually you can get it in there and it is pretty solid. But if you're not comfortable with it after you do this, if the spring cap, is wobbly or it moves in any way, then just go back over, come right beside this, and then tap that so that you're folding it over. And I'll just go ahead and show you that real quick, because it is important to make sure, very important, especially since you have taken it off. It's very important to make sure, number one, the key's out while you're doing that, but you don't want this spring cap to pop up again, because it will seize the ignition and cause problems. So just want to make sure you got a good, and I know my hand's probably covering that, but it's kind of hard to do and show all at the same time. So yep, I feel comfortable with that one. So once you're done with that, it's just a matter of slapping it back in the car and collecting your paycheck. So that is my little blah thing on GM 10 cut, old school. Same thing for this, exact same way. Maybe it look a little bit different, but it's the exact same thing. The number one biggest thing you don't want to do is you don't want to put it in there, press up, and break that leg. If you break the leg in there and you can't get it out, which you can sometimes get the broken leg out by coming in with something in the side and like prying on it. It's messy, it's time consuming, so you just want to be very careful. That's the biggest thing, is just being very careful when you're levering that out. You want to make sure to get close to the end, push it up a little bit. Don't try to pull it up and then bend it and then yank, because that's just going to weaken the metal here. So you want to pull up, come over here, pull up, pull up, pull up, move back and forth until you gently get the whole thing off. So anyway, if you have any questions or comments, just let me know in the comment section. But otherwise, that is my little spiel on GM 10 cut. And again, y'all have a great day. If you have any other questions, let me know. I'll try to answer them the best I can. Don't do a whole lot of automotive anymore, because I did get burnt out on that during my AAA days. But obviously, GM 10 cuts, I did so many of them. It's just like, another thing. So it happens. Hopefully, if you have one, you'll have the key code in dot matrix right there in that little panel. So always look for a code, run the code, cut the key. That's the easiest way to do it. But if no code and your reader doesn't work, which that reader, I admit, I've used that reader and it's like, is that a 3 or a 4? So you could go 3, 4, and then cut the key and go through a bunch of keys trying it. But, an extra 5-10 minutes to take it apart, it would save you possibly cutting a whole bunch of other keys. Thanks for watching, guys. Y'all have a great one. See you next video.